to want something to happen or to be true. And an archaic or old-fashioned meaning is trust. And in the Bible, that's the one we use the most often. Because, the Apostle Paul was a great believer in hope. If you want to read about how much he believes in hope, make the book of Romans your summer reading. In Romans alone, Paul uses the word hope 16 times. Of the over 75 times that the word hope is used in the New Testament, over 50 of those uses are from Paul's letters to the churches. And another 8 are from Acts, talking about Paul's speeches and sermons. If you're looking for hope, the scriptures are a good place to start. And this has been a week when a lot of us have gone looking for hope. If you hang around with me, you know that I talk about mental health and faith a lot. I'm very active in the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, especially in areas that work with peers, those of us who have lived experience with mental health challenges and where peers and faith intersect. And yes, you heard me right. I said those of us who have experience. I've had challenges with depression and anxiety for my adult life and even before that. I've also been a person of faith at the same time, all of that time. And sometimes that's complicated. Last week, Pastor Craig started us off on a new series of sermons called This Is Us, as we spend some of the summer looking at who we are as a congregation, as a community, and what it means to be church for the world. We're studying the epistle lessons as well as the Gospel of Mark, what Paul has to say to the church in Corinth, as well as what comes down and is said to us. Last week, he reminded us that nobody's perfect. Today, I get to remind us that everybody needs hope. Hope is the thing that keeps us alive when everything else looks bleak. There's an Emily Dickinson poem that starts, "Hope is the thing with feathers that sings." Yeah, she likens hope to a bird that just can't stop singing. And hope is like that. We need to hold on to it. And sometimes it can be as fleeting as a bird. It's what Paul is talking about when he says we rely on things not seen. We can't see hope, we can't touch it, but we can reach out to others in love and share hope with one another. We can always remind each other, like Paul is reminding the church at Corinth, that right now the pain we're feeling is just a momentary affliction, that it doesn't make it less real, but it doesn't mean that pain and evil and suffering get the last word, because they don't. Jesus gets the last word, and his word is life and love. That's why he's aggravated and incredulous with the scribes who are speaking against him today. They're looking at the healing he's been doing and the people he's been calling to him, and they're off whispering in a corner saying, he must be casting out demons by being in league with the ruler of demons. He shuts that one down pretty fast. Really? How does evil cast out evil? That's not the way it happens. Only God's good and God's light can account for casting out evil and healing broken bodies and spirits. Jesus tells them that people will be forgiven of their sins and the blasphemies that come out of their mouths. I've struggled with 2 different older folks this week who tried to tell me that dying by suicide is an unforgivable sin, one that God just can't forgive, that puts the person beyond reach of heaven. I've used this passage, and I've used kindness, and I've used everything I know how to tell them differently, but I'm not totally sure they believed me. Do I think that taking a life is a sin, whether it's your own or someone else's? Yes, I do. But I also believe that Jesus died for the forgiveness of all of our sins, and that in his resurrection he has conquered death, all death. So while I am deeply saddened by deaths that have been reported this week, like Kate Spades and Anthony Bourdain's, and the dozens of American veterans whose names we do not know, but who also died by their own hands this week. I'm not willing to believe that their deaths have put them beyond the reach of God's love. I've had a lot of conversations with NAMI and with other places, with folks struggling with depression and thoughts of suicide. And I can guarantee you one thing, asking someone if they're thinking about that is not a way to make them think about it if they hadn't been already. Don't shy away from asking someone you love and care for, are you thinking of harming yourself? Because I've never heard anybody say, no, but now that you mention it. No, that is not the way it works. We're glad to have somebody reach out and say, are you thinking that way? But almost all of them have said that what one person at NAMI told me, that when he was in the worst of depression and despair, and dying seemed like the only way out, it wasn't that he actually wanted to die. He said, I just wanted the pain to be gone. That's a pretty blunt statement of our human condition. I just wanted the pain to be gone. When we get too far away from God and God's love for us, we live in pain and shame and blame. It's what drove Adam and Eve in our lessons in Genesis today. I heard a couple chuckles when you heard them sort of starting to pass the buck. They hide, and God asks Adam, did you eat from that tree I told you not to? Well, he doesn't just say yes. He shifts the blame, telling God, that woman that you gave me, gave me the fruit. Yeah, it's God's fault, right? And when God asked Eve what's going on, she says, the serpent tricked me, which the serpent did. But that wasn't the question that God was asking her quite. The only one who doesn't argue or blame somebody else is the serpent. The humans pass the buck. We want somebody else to blame. We want something else to take away our pain and our shame. Well, when we live in that pain and blame and shame, it's so easy to blame somebody else. The scribes saying that Jesus must be possessed by the devil. Even his own family saying, he's gone out of his mind. Too many of us this week responding to news of death by asking, well, why did they do that? Why didn't they just ask for help? Well, I can tell you why they didn't ask for help. Because sometimes the burden and the pain get so heavy that you cannot reach out and ask for help. Because no matter how much money you have, how successful you've been, how many Bible verses you know, or how supportive your friends and family have been, it's not enough. For some of us, there's that moment when the pain is so overwhelming that nothing else but ending the pain seems possible. Nobody has hope in that situation. I know this from talking to friends who have survived, but I also know this because I've been there myself. There have been at least 3 times in my life where the pain and the despair of depression and anxiety almost won. I am fortunate to have stood on that brink and come back. But I have to credit God and all kinds of people for that fact. I did not do that alone. What makes us different from everybody else is not that Christians don't get depressed. We do. And it's not a momentary feeling of just being a little down or sad. Depression is a bleak, gray landscape that will not let hope in. What makes us different is that we're not alone. God promises that, and it's the gift we have for the world. That is our hope, and that is what we can share. The hope that is in us. So share that hope. Check on each other. As one of my friends posted on social media this week, among many other messages, check on your strong friends. Check on your quiet friends. Check on everybody. Tell them they are loved. Give them hope so they don't have to go looking for it by themselves. You know, and to talk about that, we have made some cards to share. And we can make more if people want them. You'll notice that they have a few hope-filled Bible verses on one side, and on the other, places to reach a friendly voice, because everybody does need hope, and we are the ones who can share it. Amen.